Yes, I think I'll be all right.
You having a nice day out?
Where am I?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of people here.
You're not in the home today, you're having a day out.
You cheeky son.
You're an interviewer.
I know.
Your name is Michael Parkinson.
I thought it was Muhammad Ali. Well, that was a wait, and thank you all for coming, and thank you all for being so very generous in that wonderful session of raising money, which is why we're here today. Thank you to David, too, for coming along and being here. One of my favorite men, talented man. Difficult to pin down. We'll talk about that later. So much to talk about. I mean, the shows you've done, all that, and the swimming and all that sort of stuff. But what everybody wants to know is, what is Simon Cowell really like?
Well, as a children's book writer, one of the most important things you need is an evil villain for your stories. So whenever I'm creating a villain, I always think, what would Simon Cowell do? He is a very strange character. He doesn't like to get out of bed until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we always start our Britain's Got Talent sessions about 3 or 4 hours late. So you think we're in somewhere like Liverpool, we've got 3,000 Liverpudlians waiting to start, and they're kept in a room for 4 hours waiting, and he gets the microphone and says, sorry we're starting late, everybody. David was eating a 3-course meal, and I said to him, David, we've got to get on with the show, and he said, no, I'm sorry, the people of Liverpool can wait. And these people start booing me, not realizing he's making a joke, and that's how we have to start each session.
Uh-huh.
He's very competitive,
yes,
but he's very short. And I think the lesson is, don't wear high heels when you're going downstairs. He had a very bad accident. Unfortunately, not fatal, but he had a bad accident.
That's dealt with him, all right, fine. I mean, reading about you, I came to the conclusion, I've not met many people in my lifetime, it's been a long short period of interviewing, who's as kind of difficult to capture as you are. I mean, who are you, what you are? You've been so many things. You started off life as a drag act. We got used to that. And then, yes, we did get used to it. Yes, we did. It was our favorite drag act. But then, you actually went and swam the Channel. And then you swam a 140-mile journey on the River Thames. And also to...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For which you raised, what, a couple of £1 million for sport relief? Well done. You raised about that for the Channel as well. So you're a kind of mixture. And also, too, you threw away the line about I write kids' books. How many books have you sold, by the way? Come on.
Well, I can't say.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
It's 112. Well, I've signed a lot today, which is great because you can't take those books back to the shop now. Okay? Those are yours now. Joan Collins famously said, a signed book is a sold book. Because apparently she sold 20,000 to make sure her book was a bestseller.
She wrote them herself?
She signed 20,000 copies so they couldn't be taken back to the shop.
Yeah, but you still don't answer my question.
I've sold a lot, because in 53 languages around the world.
Well, for 15 million? More?
It's 20 million, Mike.
20 million.
20 million. But they were all bought by one person, so it kind of cancels it out a bit.
You said it again, this kind of thing, trying to find out what you're about. You said, I had a very happy childhood, but I wasn't that happy as a child. What does that mean?
Believe it or not, Michael, I was quite effeminate as a child.
Oh.
Who'd have thought it?
I don't.
And I grew up in quite a sort of a macho, well, like today, very macho, isn't it? Left the wives at home, gentlemen, haven't you? And so in my school, it was a little brutal environment at times, and it wasn't that great to be camp. But I did this thing, I sort of counter the bullying and everything, I just played up to it. And now I've made a career out of it. So it all ended up happily.
There's a lesson there somewhere. Yeah. Tell us about meeting the Queen.
Well, when I swam the Channel in 2006, I was invited to go to Buckingham Palace, and I had a +1, and of course I brought my mum. And we met the Queen, which was fantastic, and the Duke of Edinburgh, who didn't actually stop to talk to us, but he sort of went, is this the nut that swum the channel? And I went, yes. Any more nuts in your family? And he was through the door, and my mum went, just the one, Prince Philip. And then 10 years later, we're at a reception, the Royal Academy, right? And I'm going to name drop here. Rod Stewart here, okay? Lenny Henry here, my mum here, and then me. So the Queen is walking down the line, and she sees my mum, and she sort of looks her up and down, probably thinking, sorry, Mum, but probably thinking, who is this? And my mum, to help her, went, I met you 10 years ago, actually. She meets a lot of people, Mum. She ain't going to remember. But she was very nice.
Yeah.
You met the Queen. Did the Queen give you your knighthood?
She did. My mother lost the ticket going into the palace, and she actually went up to the security guard and said, I've lost my ticket. He said, well, you can't come in. She said, but I'm Michael Parkinson's mum. And he said, they all say that, love. Fortunately, that time, the guy found she dropped it in the car park. Otherwise, it would have been a fight, a fist fight. What about your dad?
My dad is sadly not with us anymore. He would have loved being here today and meeting all you guys. And I must say, it is absolutely incredible what you're doing with this charity. I'm really, really blown away by the work you do. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. Although I will say, this minibus, guys, it's a great gesture, but this is too small. You ain't gonna get your kids in there. Okay? Come on, guys, a bit more money, please. My dad was a civil engineer for London Transport, so he was in charge of bridges and tunnels. And I was very lucky because my mum and dad both liked going to the theatre, and so they'd take me lots, and I got to see lots of amazing performers like Frankie Howard do A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I saw Anthony Hopkins on stage in the National Theatre. So the fact that they were great theatre lovers really gave me a love of actors, and being near to it, I think, gives you a slight sense that it's, they're just within reach, aren't they, when you go to the theatre? So it gives you a sense of possibility, I think. So I was very lucky that they encouraged me like that.
Did you get to know Mr. Howard, Frankie Howard?
I did. I loved Frankie Howard. I got his autograph once, but it was a fleeting meeting, and then I ended up playing him in a BBC4 drama. It's amazing how life often goes in circles, from getting someone's autograph to actually playing them. And it's the same with you, and I know you will think I'm sort of, being a bit of a kiss ass, but I will. So. But I'm saying it's the point in your career where you think, well, maybe I've made it in some way because I've got to come on your show, which is fantastic, which we've got to do twice. And of course, when you asked me today, it was like, for you, anything. Okay?
Thank you so much, Jürgen. Now, what about the business of writing books? Where do you get the inspiration from? For instance, you had a wonderful book, which my grandchildren adore, called Mr. Stinky. Where did that come from?
Well, that was inspired by you. I'm joking, ladies and gentlemen. He's very fragrant. Often they come from real life. The first book was called The Boy in the Dress. And when I was younger, my sister, who's 2 years older, we had a dressing up box, and she used to dress me up in this mauve bridesmaid's dress, this fur hat, give me this handbag, and she would parade me up and down the street where we lived. The last time was about 2 or 3 years ago. And, I'm joking! It was when I was a child, and so that became the inspiration for The Boy in the Dress. And we had this contestant on Britain's Got Talent who came in, he had this greasy black hair, these dark glasses, and he spoke like that with a bit of a wheeze, and he had these false teeth rattling in his mouth. And his first line was, I know what you're thinking. They've dug up Roy Orbison. You haven't won us over. Not with that line. And we said, what's your act going to be? And he said, I'm going to eat live cockroaches. And true to his word, he got out this brown paper bag and he started eating these live cockroaches. He went on to win the series that year. He got buzzed off very, very quickly. And, but it got me thinking, if he ate live cockroaches, what else might he do? Might he turn rats into burgers? Might he sell those burgers from a van? The dark glasses, might he be blind in real life? I started to invent this imaginary life for him, and then I ended up writing a book called Rat Burger,
Yes.
which was sort of about him. And you know the best part of it all?
No?
I did not have to pay him a penny.
Ah.
I took his life, turned it into a book, and I never even said thank you to him, wherever he is.
Yeah, whatever he is, God bless him, yeah. What about the swimming? Now, how soon in your life did you actually find yourself wanting to swim, wanting to really spend your life in water in a sense, because you're a fabulous swimmer?
Oh,
But you are, it's true. You're no good at rugby or anything like that. Those boat sports.
Well, I was on a comic relief trip in Ethiopia. And of course, when you're on a trip like that, you agree to lots of things that you probably wouldn't agree to in the cold light of day.
Yes.
So the gentleman who's in charge of comic relief at the time, Kevin Cowell, said, "Is there anything sporty you've ever fancied doing, David?" I thought we were just having a chat.
Yeah.
And I went, "Well, I've always fancied swimming the channel." He went, "You can do it next year for sport relief." And I thought, well, he'll forget about that. We got back to London. Oh, the meeting's on Tuesday with the head of the Channel Swimming Association. Excuse me? So I went along to that, and then they said, "Oh, you have to go to hospital and have a heart monitor to check that your heart is in good enough condition to swim the channel." Well, I was praying there was something wrong with me. Praying! But heart was fine, and sure as day, just as the weeks and months passed, there I was training, and then finally the day came, and it was one of the most glorious days of my life. My mum and dad were there on the boat following, and my mum gets terrible seasickness. I mean, terrible, and she can barely even sit in the back of a car. We have to put her on the roof. Anyway, so she was, I spent about 10 and a half hours swimming. So she was on the boat for about 12, 14 hours. And she spent the whole time below deck throwing up, the whole journey. And then I said to my mum, "Oh, God, you were sick the whole time. I'm so sorry." She went, "I wouldn't have missed it for the world."
That's a mom.
Isn't it lovely?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Was it more difficult than you imagine? I mean, you can't imagine, can you, if you've not done it before,
No,
what it is like?
I'm quite sort of built for it, because if you're skinny, you can't do it. You do need a layer of fat. I'm not joking, because it's cold.
Yes.
And there's a problem with shrinkage, Michael, as well, I'll be honest with you. You would really be no good at it, I think. I'd worry for you. This afternoon's taking a turn for the worse, isn't it? But yeah, it was hard to do, but it's one of those things. If you do the training, then by the time the day comes, you're actually dying to do it, because you're dying to get the training over with, because the training is so boring.
But there's a difference between training and actually the mental process I'm thinking about, of going through that kind of challenge. Mentally, what do you do? Do you fantasize? Do your brain switch off? What do you do? What do you think about? Do you whistle? You can't whistle.
You can't whistle underwater, Michael.
No. Do you play songs in your head?
I play songs in my head. Basically,
Right.
it is actually I'm sure there's lots of people here who've done endurance events of one sort or another, and I met some this afternoon. I think the mental challenge is as big as the physical challenge.
Yeah, must be.
And so the battle is in your mind, because you're in pain, you're bored, you're tired, you're hungry, you want it to be over, but you know that if you get out, get onto the boat, the whole thing's over, and you've ruined your chances of doing something good. So I would just make lists of happy things, my favorite Beatles songs. I would think about all the pre-title sequences for all the Bond movies in order, see if I could remember them all, because that would pass, half an hour of time to think of them through.
Yeah.
So that's how I cope with it. And then, of course, you get the bug. After this from the channel, I thought, well, that's it. I'm never doing anything like that again. And then part of you starts itching, what's the next challenge going to be? And I ended up doing the Thames, which was sort of like doing 8 lots of the channel.
Yeah, that was a very different experience, I would have imagined. I mean, you see in the river, of course. The river was filthy. I remember you came to our house.
I did. I swam past your house.
You did.
Got a lovely house.
I know, it's nice, isn't it?
Weird. We're just interviewing people. It's so strange. The nicest house I've ever seen.
Here came a cup of tea. But it was extraordinary. That Armada that I saw coming down the river with this blower figure like this. It was extraordinary. But I mean, again, were there the same problems, the mental problems were the same? Was that the...
It was actually easier because the nice thing was people like yourself, but also lots of people who lived along the river or just happened to come out for the day turned out to cheer me on.
Yes.
So in the channel, I was pretty much on my own, but there, it was lovely. So whole schools would come out and give me a wave, and it just gave me a boost. You know, it made me think I wasn't totally wasting my time, that people actually cared.
Well, you weren't doing that with the amount of money you raised, for one thing, against sport relief, was that?
Yes.
It was sport relief, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is great, and that, you know, that's a thrill. And I feel like, you know, when you become well known, it's a gift, and it's how you use that gift, because it's a very special situation you find yourself in, where you can get people's attention. So if there's something you care about, I mean, lots of other people, I'm sure, have swum the Channel and the Thames, have done things harder, you know, scaled Everest. But if you're on television, you can get the whole of the British population to engage with it. And so instead of raising, you know, thousands of pounds, you can raise millions of pounds. So I don't want to squander this time I have in the sun.
Speaking about that, what plans... You know how to get them going, don't you? You know how to work an audience. No, but the point I was going to ask about was, so how do you see the career? I mean, there's so many aspects, avenues you could go down. Have you decided, there's one or two? I mean, writing quite obviously, I said when I talked to you, that's the one you're most proud of in a sense, because that's the most difficult thing to do is to write. But what about the rest? Where does David Walliams see himself going after all this that's happened so far?
Well, the most bizarre thing that's happened is the success of the books, which has far outstripped really anything else I've done. And so, and I feel like that, you know, if I get it right and the books carry on being successful, then that's in a way a bit of a legacy for me. It's the most incredible thing. I think I'll know I've made it as a children's author if someone comes up to me and says, I used to read your books as a child, and now I read them to my child.
Yes.
Now, I've been writing books for 10 years, so that can't really happen yet. But one day, if that happens, I'll know I've made it. If it goes on another generation, you know, like Roald Dahl is now, you know, some of those books were written over 50 years ago.
It was your favourite, wasn't it?
My favourite, yeah. And children read them today as if they were written yesterday. Well, I'm going to Australia when I leave here. I'm getting on a plane and going to Australia to try and sell books to Australian children.
Ah, well, and you'll find that very easy too. It's a very literate nation.
It's a little nation.
It's a very literate nation.
A very literate
nation, yes. It sells more magazines than any other country in the world, per capita.
When
it's
fascinating.
No, I know. It is time.
When do you need to be back for your tea?
Take me off now. I'm all right. But
well, look, I'm so proud to be a small part of today. I'm so thrilled that you asked me. You are an absolute hero of mine. And you guys are all heroes for being part of this incredible charity too. So big thank you to your president, Sir Michael Parkinson!